to his ultimate, making him both an assassin and also a semi-tank.
Lulu grabbed up pretty quick there. Not locked in just yet. Kassadin and Nidalee will be the last ones banned out. They do not like that Nidalee from Bjergsen. It can still be an impact play. See that Lulu locked in, and Cruzer, are they really they're gonna leave their Renekton wide open and lock into Shyvana Annie immediately.
Yeah, they've really been putting a lot of priority on this Annie pick, actually, for KiWiKiD here. And it looks like they've not strayed away from that strategy, trying to get him going early to sort of rotate around and make some big plays. They really rely on KiWiKiD for a lot of their engages.
Whenever that flash is up, he'll definitely use it to get into the fight. Lately, he has been behind. Those lanes get hit up quickly. KiWiKiD locks in the Quinn to go along with that Annie, adding a little bit more front-end burst from an AD carry.
Yeah, very interesting. Yes, Sivir brings team mobility towards the late game. Quinn has mobility for herself, though. So we'll have to see how KiWiKiD is able to utilize this Quinn. In lane, it's pretty good. You know, you as an AD carry, you have a blind yourself. That's always a great matchup. But that paired with Annie actually has a lot of burst potential as well. You know, she brings her own execute to the party, and that level 6 is pretty scary. On the side of TSM, though, they've always got the threat of the Evelynn. As long as OddOne does not reveal himself, pretty much the entire map has to play a little safer.
Waiting to see what Xpecial locks in. He's been able to keep himself to 3 champions all season so far. That Annie, that Leona, and that Thresh. Somehow, either one he gets, he just does amazing on. He's waiting for this one. I don't think he's going to be too unhappy with that pick.
Yeah.
Very good Leona.
I think he's pretty well suited for this matchup because KiWiKiD usually builds a lot of speed on his Annie. As I said, Dignitas rely on KiWiKiD for the initiation for their team, so he always builds mobility boots and talisman pretty early. That leaves him open to all-ins very early on in the game. So Leona, if they can actually get an engage and lock him down with Evelynn ganking there, then they could just kill KiWiKiD.
Dyrus said it coming into this. Dignitas, that wild card. What are they going to be doing with this composition? So far, it looks like they're holding steady. 20 seconds on the clock is the amount of when they have to have every champion switched about. So
yeah,
everybody has the knowledge.
Crumbzz does utilize Kayle in solo queue fairly often as a jungler, so he's definitely at home on this champion. And it's kind of a throwback. We haven't seen it in professional play in a long time, but it is a pretty strong jungler, and he's definitely very comfortable on it. Saw him practicing it actually the other day in solo queue. So Dignitas bringing out a couple new strategies here, utilizing both Quinn and Kayle.
It'll be quite interesting. Let's check in with the vote right now, crunch some numbers, and then we'll talk a little bit more about these comps. According to LOL Esports, as you can see, 91% of the fans of TSM giving them that vote.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of last-minute votes for Dignitas, though, just from people wanting to see KiWiKiD succeed on Quinn here. Now, Quinn, she does go fairly close to the danger when she goes bird form there with Valor. So I like that they added so many shields with their Kayle jungle and Orianna mid. They've got a lot of utility that whoever's getting focused down, they can actually shore up their defenses. And even if it is KiWiKiD having to put all his money into speed, then they've got extra stings to save him as well. So whatever point is getting focused for Dignitas, they can play reactively. And I'm glad that it's actually Crumbzz with the Kayle because he's very quick. His mechanics are extremely strong, and that's where all the power of Kayle comes from. It's predictive shields that actually block damage rather than just shielding someone who's already low and allowing them to run away from the fight.
Used to those high-intensity moments. He's got the fingers from the Lee Sin play. He knows what's going on. Have to see what this composition brings to light for Dignitas. Mentioning again that Dyrus said Dig is that wild card. We'll see how much of that they can play this game. Coming out, we got Targon's in the bottom lane.
Yeah, because the bottom lane here from TSM obviously wants to shove as quickly as possible. Pretty much all Sivir lanes do, and especially paired with Leona, they're going to look for the early level 2. So Sivir probably going to start that Ricochet, make use of the early Targon, executes. Meanwhile, this Dignitas team comp here, they not only have a good team fight, but they also have the ability to split push with Quinn. Quinn can actually get from one of the side lanes over to a mid lane team fight quicker than pretty much any other AD carry. Sivir would actually be the closest match to her. But we'll have to see if KiWiKiD can get a good early start. If they can get Quinn going early, then he can actually start to split push against this team.
Becomes a big factor. Again, it's going to play in as well as we have not seen Quinn in quite some time. So probably means WildTurtle and the rest of the team hasn't played against that many Quinns. Maybe KiWiKiD's Quinn. So that blind may take effect. We'll see that coming into some very, very intense fights. Dyrus hanging out in the top lane. No more cleavers to be dodged, so it's real quiet in that top lane recently.
It's always pretty quiet here in the beginning. That's why I like to talk about stats during the river. And TSM are definitely one of my favorite points for those. This time we're looking at the all-time kills record, though, which is currently held by Mandatory Cloud from last year. But the two players that are closest to taking that are Turtle and Bjergsen, both on TSM. Actually, we'll talk about that a little bit later here. We have a little late invade. Both teams actually thinking the same thing here. It's a little bit reactive from TSM, so TheOddOne will be a few steps behind Crumbzz, but not too bad. They're actually just warding up that blue.
We'll see where they go from this. Looks like we're going to get a quick pause on the game. WildTurtle's going to get himself reconnected into that. So we see Dignitas doing a bit of what we had CLG doing to EG yesterday, a quick invade on that top side, and so far a lane swap with Quinn and Annie in the top lane.
Yeah, swapping out the Quinn. They're going to ensure that KiWiKiD does have a good early game here. So maybe they are going to try and make use of his late game speed and ability to traverse the map. Now, we can't talk about those stats for Turtle, though, since we have a lot of time here. He's the closest. He needs 54 kills in the remainder of this split to take Mandatory Cloud's record. But Bjergsen would almost be more impressive if he could do it, because he missed 6 games. Having missed 6 games, he still only needs 59 more kills. And on average, that would be 8.4 per game, which is pretty hard to do. But it is conceivable. So if Bjergsen could actually take away Mandatory Cloud's all-time kill record, having missed 6 games, that would be extremely impressive.
Maybe you have to be a little team help there, dishing him the ball every time he's under.
They might do some cheeky stuff to lay out the end of the game, try and get some fountain kills or something, try and feed it to him.
Maybe a quadra kill in Italy, Spirit of the Fountain. I don't know. Could happen again. It's Bjergsen. So wait for him to get back in. WildTurtle with a slight particle bug, so he's going to reconnect. But already we see TheOddOne. Now it's coming in a second game in a row on Evelyn. He played it yesterday. Played quite well. We'll see how he does now without a blue buff. If he can't get over to that one in time, if Crumbzz decides to go down and still get help from the duo on the top, he can be all right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to answer with his own blue buff steal. Because they did a 2-versus-1 lane swap, even if Crumbzz went down to his blue, there's nobody to help him there.
Right.
So TheOddOne should definitely be heading over to the Dignitas side and taking that blue buff. He's got the extra support there with his double lane down bottom. This is pretty standard answer for having your blue buff stolen this early, but he's getting very low. He's definitely going to need Xpecial's help if he does go over for that blue.
Yeah, they got a bit more vision on the blue buff going over at Xpecial. Looks like he's starting to hover towards the top side. We see Cruzer is not in the bottom lane, so they have to wonder where he is, trying to soak up experience in the jungle because he's not going to be doing too much melee range right now in lane. This is going to be up for TheOddOne. That should be fine for them, and we'll go back to being normal here.
Yeah, so Renekton and Shyvana are both pretty good at jungling. Shyvana definitely has a little bit of an edge, and since Dignitas knew this was coming, Cruzer got a little bit of a leg up on Dyrus, but he gets into position here. He's going to try and soak up experience from this Tribush here, but KiWiKiD knows what he's thinking and wards it up with his trinket. Very good job by them so that they can zone Dyrus from every little bit of experience. You can see the only reason Dyrus is hovering around here, he wants to barely get in range as soon as that minion dies.
So the 2v1 obviously doesn't give TheOddOne much to do on Eve, but be in that bottom lane with the team. Turret for turret going down here in the early part of the game as Dignitas calls the swap. They're going to try to run with it.
Yeah, so not only are they able to neutralize Evelyn's early jungle, which is this pretty standard reaction to an Evelyn jungle, trying to get those 2-versus-1s so you can see her on the map, but they also ensure that Crumbzz has a good early jungle with Kayle, and Kayle definitely excels a little bit later, so they're happy with this one. Also, Kayle is ranged, so even if Dyrus shows up, he'll have a very, very hard time trying to defend turrets, and that's why he's just hovering around the outside, as we said, trying to soak up EXP.
A little bit quicker on the side of TSM, and Dig's going to need about one more wave. They got to push down this siege wave that's coming at them right now, and they'll be good to go. Mid lane hasn't seen too much action. Scarra's been able to find a bit more farm, and he's keeping the wave in the middle of the lane, actually.
That's very surprising that Bjergsen is down that CS right now. All right, Dyrus trying to make his last stand here and save the turret. It looks like they might be able to do it because Turtle has already recalled. TSM
that
come
should
out
not have happened.
a tower ahead. Now, a lot of it is due to the reduced damage on the first turret that made Dignitas take a bit longer. And Dig, usually when they do these switches, they have Jinx instead. Quinn not quite as strong of a tower shover early, and it does cost them. That extra global gold of the second turret not going down is a great advantage for TSM. Now we'll see if they can reposition for the early dragon, because that's kind of the next early objective that people usually try and change when they do make exchanges like this. But with Turtle hovering around Dyrus up there, it looks like they do not care about that bottom side of the map.
We see KiWiKiD coming towards the mid lane right now. It looks like he can't offer too much. He pings out. He's going for a ward. He's saying, cover my butt so I'm not killed. Looks like he will be safe for the time being as well. 6 minutes in now. Every time we see these turrets get pushed, the team slow down a little bit. They start to regroup, and it's really going to be, if anybody can pick someone off before the dragon fight.
Yeah, a really big part of why these games always slow down after the turrets is because there's so much map area that's open because all the turrets are down, but there's no vision for either team because it was all on their first base. Nobody had the time to buy any wards, and it were just trinket wards. So with the entire map dark but so many possibilities, everybody plays very cautiously. And as I said, TSM looked like they didn't really care about the early dragon. It is worth noting that it doesn't give that much gold. This early on in the game, it'll have to take a little while to scale up due to the average champion level in the game. But it is a little bit more for Dignitas and does actually even up that deficit that they were holding because of the extra turret.
It was a good move. That turret also sits in the top lane ready to be taken down, so a little bit of gold when they need it for the top laner. Only 100, 200 gold as it ticks up in favor of TSM right now as TheOddOne knows presence needs to be in the bottom lane. They're getting pushed into the turret, so they look to stop this from going down, as well as just kind of Crumbzz have no ganks to the other lanes. He's going to have to sit here.
Yeah, TSM pretty happy about at least getting that giant wave built up, though. That's a big part of doing the early pushes, is controlling the wave where you leave it. You don't want to let your enemies freeze that early wave deep in their territory, because when everyone's still level 4, it's extremely dangerous to get that deep in enemy territory. TSM, though, they should try and make use of their giant wave. Whenever you do sort of just last hit minions, your wave builds up very nicely, and then you want to call as many champion resources up to that wave and try and make use of it. You can see they called Bjergsen. He roamed up top, so they're able to make use of that giant amount of ranged minions that WildTurtle was able to build up while slowly last hitting.
Yep, WildTurtle by himself in that top lane. We just saw Xpecial in the bottom helping out Dyrus, so they couldn't take that. If that was 3v1 versus Dyrus, that turret would be down as well. So TSM is really moving, helping each other out in every lane. It's working out very good so far. 8 minutes in, they haven't found themselves a kill, but they're getting all the pressure to lead to the victory so far.
And for everybody who's a fan of the Quinn here from KiWiKiD, is maxing that Blinding Assault first. So that's the Q for the extra damage for the poke on that Quinn.
He's not doing too bad in lane. He's down about 15 CS. WildTurtle's been able to really push that top lane, not getting the second turret. Hurt him a little bit on the side of Dignitas, and it looks like top's going to go down with the next wave present. Cruiser could not do much about that lane. WildTurtle's already 6 there, and he's going to get Xpecial back to lane for the turret.
Yeah, it looks like TSM going to increase their map control here. They already have 1 turret ahead. Giving up that dragon, not a big deal to them. They get even more territory to work with. And you can see how they have actually invested in the early vision. Even though it is a larger proportion of their current gold that they have to spend on that, they've done so, and they got a few deep wards here. Cruzer's in position, though, and Crumbzz on Kale just hit level 6. So he's definitely ready to go for any 2 versus 2 fights. Kale extremely strong in 2 versus 2 situations once she does get her ult.
It's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot of ramp up coming in for Dignitas, and hopefully they can get there with Crumbzz, Scarra, KiWiKiD's power to come out in just a bit. But that's going to be a lot of AP And we'll see if TSM has had the time to mitigate that damage by, I don't know, I'd say it'd be 25 minutes when those fights are going to start. Right now, it's a 1,000 gold lead for TSM. We saw they weren't worried about that first dragon, and the next one will be in 5 or so minutes. So they got a little time.
It's an interesting
2 minutes,
move from TSM here. They're sending all their resources towards the bottom side because they just took this top turret, and Shyvana up top, Cruzer, he's just trying to freeze this wave. He's just slowly last hitting. They've sent everyone down bottom to try and get a bush gank on KiWiKiD here. The ult from Dyrus, pretty early.
He might have the on the hunt speed, but it's not as much as he thought. Forces the flash from KiWiKiD. So
Dyrus has
easy
flash
to come
if he can get in range. But not close enough.
Not going to be it. A good chase, though. They push QD out of lane. They're going to have presence down there as well. And really nothing else to worry about except for minions coming down the wave. All they have to do is take that out. 82 for Bjergsen, 81 right now for Turtle.
Cruzer, seeing all this aggression down bottom, should be switching modes right now. He was just last hitting slowly. He should probably switch it up and try and shove the wave so that he can even out the balance of power on the map bottom side, or else TSM will gain control. And you can see he does there. Okay, now he's trying to get some extra gold from the double golems.
Really, Dignitas trying to regroup and figure out how they can get back at Team Solomid. OddOne being on Eve, they already don't know where he is, and he hasn't even had a huge impact in the fight. If anything starts to go wrong or TSM doesn't find the initiation they want, they just start having him coming in from the side.
Yeah, OddOne is actually an Evelynn player that does really like to farm up early. And he likes to come in when he already has his ultimate and get some very potent early ganks off with his Agony's Embrace. He'll usually look for kills on the duo lane with his first activation of that ultimate because he can slow both members and try and get something there. But this time around, yeah, classic.
Oh.
There's no way you're going to get that. It's just a slow on Scarra, so he's safe.
He would have flashed it. Would have been completely safe, even if they went hard. Seeing what he can do to stay in the mid lane. He is down in CS now. Bjergsen was able to get that back for himself, pushing with the Glitter Lance as Dyrus stays top, but he's not top in CS. Cruzer getting 70 to his 59 there with what happened in the lane swap, and now everybody trying to regroup. And that's, I believe, I'd say the first time, even with the swap or without a swap, that Cruzer's going to be beating him, and we'll see how it plays out into the later part of the game.
All right, so Dragon Timer for Dig. They're ready for this. They actually came a little bit early, and TSM very well aware of what the Dig plan is. So we might get to see this first team fight. Now, not only is Scarra's Shockwave going to be very crucial to their team fight victory here for Dig if they're able to come out on top, but also the Crumbzz Kale ulti. See how much damage he can actually block with that. Because they're already starting off this dragon. Oh my god!
Oh, he almost hits the entire team with the stun, but he gets a 4-slow. Cruzer from the backside. Crumbzz having to use his own intervention, saves himself for a bit, but it's a double kill coming in for the OddOne. They start tearing apart Dignitas at the dragon pit, and Cruzer's going to be the last one to go down. A clean ace for Team Solomid.
Well, that's too bad for Dignitas. TSM just came and crushed them. This is why TSM were always known as the early dragon fighting team. This solar flare from Xpecial, my god, he just starts it up. By the time Crumbzz gets out of stun lock, he's at 100 HP, and he has to panic use the KO ulti on himself. As I said before, you're always trying to block damage with that. When he has to panic ult himself when he's almost already dead, they aren't able to get anything out about it, and Dignitas, with the team fight on the back foot, they get aced plus the dragon. Giant swing for TSM. They've really got a huge handle on this game now, and it's really up to them to increase vision now. They have to decide which buff they want to control. I definitely favor the blue side of the map because it is a very important buff for this Dignitas team, having both Orianna and Kale on their team. They really need it for sustained pushes.
Yeah. They had the wards for that fight, just were not ready for TSM to act that fast. 4 wards sit around the dragon right now, but very good ultimate from Xpecial. Hasn't been on Leona in a few weeks or so, but makes it count still. 14 minutes into this one, 5-0. Those are the first 5 kills of the game after first blood came in, or 4 kills I should say then, but 23,000 to 17.9. And it's not looking good for Dig. They're going to have to get something very big here.
It is not. They were all grouped up. I mean, in a matter of seconds, TSM They get off the Solar Flare, they get off the Agony's Embrace from OddOne, and they get a great AoE Glitter Lance. There's so much that came down in this short period of time from TSM. And in a blink of an eye, Dignitas already really have a big hole to climb out of.
Spirit of the Spectral Wraith going out over to Crumbzz. Haven't seen that Kale in a while, but that's what he needs in his build right now to get himself around. That's what you usually see anyways. 4-1 in turrets as TSM makes the map that much darker for Dignitas, continuing to take down anything that would give them back the game. Looks like Bjergsen's going to be safe. They always said you're never going to 1v1 the mid laner, and it's true about this one. OddOne waiting in the wing once again.
Yeah, he's got his eyes set. Not only OddOne, but Turtle as well.
Agony's Embrace on the Dragon's Descent. The Solar Flare again. Waiting on that one. He wasn't going too fast, but still dead on.
Yeah, Xpecial's been definitely on point with his ulti so far. Dyrus trying to do the same thing here, hold the bottom turret. He's also in danger of being dove. KiWiKiD trying to charge up his stun here. He does have Tibbers available. And we talked about the burst from Quinn. You don't expect it a lot of times, having not played against him in a while.
He's trying to take it. That turret's going to help him out a lot. He knows what he can do in this situation. Got to watch out for the Tibbers aggro, though. He holds it for a while, really just wasting a good amount of time.
They don't go all in for it. They just take the global objective, but KiWiKiD a little greedy here, trying to shove one more wave. You can't really do that against the mobile Lulu. Keeps on speed buffing herself. Bjergsen should be able to land a slow here.
That wasted time could definitely be in their favor. He gets himself some vision, tries to go for the ulti, hits in onto Bjergsen. You see that front end burst from Quinn that probably would have taken down Dyrus, but it was well played.
Yeah, they don't have the ward coverage to be able to do that. You know, getting another wave like that, a little bit greedy there. Good rotation from Bjergsen. TSM, they've been on point. They've been very decisive. All the important skill shots landing for them. Xpecial definitely deserves some praise.
This was going to be a tough game for Dig coming out, especially TSM having that first pick. No matter what went into their hands, it would have tilted this game a little bit. TSM would have used that to get an even bigger advantage. 17 minutes in, all they needed really was some good start on what happened in the 2v1 swap called by Dignitas, and they're 7-0.
And historically, this matchup, right now in this split, it's 3-0 in TSM's favor. The last 3 games they've won. Actually, all of the matchups today are 3-0 in favor of one of the teams or the other. So really, we're waiting for one of these upsets. This game so far, though, does not look to be one of those upsets.
TSM setting up in the top side of the jungle.
Oh, they go for a play here.
They put quite a bit onto Bjergsen. They got to know Wild Growth will save him for the time being, and they're forced out of the fight immediately. The Solar Flare locks down. Scarra gets intervention, but he's going down. Xpecial could catch a Zenith Blade onto Imaqtpie, but it's not going to happen. He gets out, and they just stave off the fight. Now it's going for the turret, but under the turret, they don't even care that it's there. Dyrus is the first one to slice and dice in. He is taking full turret aggro. The 5th shot to go on him, and he's got to back out. Onto Xpecial now, but they don't care. They have the micromanagement to get in and out and get 2 kills.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a massacre, but you can't really fault Dig for trying that. It's so dangerous for them to try and go out and get vision to get safe picks. So when they see someone out of position like that, it's kind of a desperate move. You kind of got to go for that play. They used everything, and TSM were there to turn it around. They've got complete coverage of the entire map here for TSM. Really have a stranglehold, and it's really up to Dignitas just to try and make those desperate plays to get a little window here. Little claps from the crowd as they at least fight back as far as vision wars are concerned.
They're trying to get what they can.
Whoa.
Dragon in 14 seconds. This is going to be a very big fight. If you can put that shockwave onto Tibbers, having Crumbzz come in there with the AoE damage and Dragon's Descent, there is a lot of damage that could turn this around in a fight.
And they have gotten the all-important bush on the backside of red warded. That's really important for those Baron baits. We've seen many teams lose their lives trying to get into that bush, trying to ward it. Dignitas have conquered it, but man, the blue buff, this is very hard for Dig. It's pretty much going to have to be a straight steal from them if they do come out with this one.
Full defensive mode. We can't be worrying about the blue buff. They're going to have to definitely be worrying about their turrets. This will be taken up. Pink ward's going to be cleared as well, and TSM just starts to take full control and put themselves in the driver's seat here 20 minutes into the game. Still a shutdown on kills. They've lost themselves 2 turrets, but that was only the early rush of the game. TSM has controlled everything from there on out.
Yeah, and Dignitas have changed everybody almost, except for KiWiKiD, over to sweepers. So they're more worried about TSM's vision in their side of the jungle than they are about finding out for themselves what TSM are doing. If they were more worried about, you know, uh-oh, never mind. They catch Xpecial and they go for it.
Oh, this could be pretty big. He gets down the damage. There's not going to be enough damage, though. Level 9 Xpecial is too tanky for the entire team. They put Crumbzz out. That could be the intervention.
Wow.
He doesn't have it to use. He doesn't even use it, actually, on himself. KiWiKiD is getting shots on the outside, but is it going to be enough? Bjergsen with the follow. Forces the flash there on the right. 4 people are running away from just Bjergsen with the rest of the team on his heels because he can make it happen. He can keep the fight going, and he can bring up more kills for the rest of the team. KiWiKiD makes it out alive.
Yeah, so the reason Crumbzz not using the ulti there is because he was CC'd. Like, you get stun locked. This is the counterplay to Kale. Is because she builds very squishy and a lot of damage, if you can lock her up with CC and not give her the time to pop her ulti off, then he's going to go down very easily. But Crumbzz, when he sees the circle on the ground of the solar flare, he should probably just preemptively ult himself, just so it's on there to try and block some damage. But, you know, he saves the cooldown. He does not try and ult himself, and that's definitely the end of the team fight here. Bjergsen being able to chase everybody down. One of the bonuses of a AP Lulu, you get a whole bunch of extra speed for late game chases if you are this far ahead.
Well, TSM did lose one, 13-1 now. They're starting to scrape back in that gold. That was a good kill going actually over to Xpecial, so it's not even really a shutdown. There's 9 assists there, but it's not exactly what they need. They need to be taking out the power hitters and grabbing those objectives. It's 40,000 to 27.6 right now.
Yeah.
Clean lead for Team Solomid. It's the rest of the turrets that's keeping them away from the Nexus. They just got to choose which lane.
Yeah, TSM definitely bringing a hurting here to dig. Going to be very difficult for them to survive any longer. Purple buffs up for TSM. They look to group and end this one fairly early. Now, we saw a lot of one-sided games yesterday as well, that the team that was ahead did not really decisively end the games all the time. You know, they were a little bit lazy, I was thinking yesterday, with their execution of the end game here. But TSM not looking to mess around. They want to end this one very quickly.
They've got the push going on to the inhibitor.
And there they go.
Oh, wow, a nice solar flare right between KiWiKiD and Scarra. It's going to lock them up for some pretty good damage from the rest of the team following in. KiWiKid's going to go down here. One more hate spike coming from the TheOddOne as they chase Dignitas out of their own base.
Cruiser, last man alive, running for the hills. No chance.
Cannot protect his gold. They'll be able to get into the cave. The base is wide open, 18-1, 22.5 minutes into the game. The timers are really only at 30 seconds, but it looks like TSM may have a chance to close this one out.
But can they find the ring in there, Riv?
I don't know.
They've got all the gold. All right, this is going to be TSM going Nexus turrets. Nice, very quick game from them. My goodness, 18-1, 23 minutes.
Very strong. The picks to come out. Lulu, one of the strongest mids right now. Dyrus is Renekton, something he's played over and over again. One of his highest plays here. So for TSM to get these high tier picks for themselves meant the early game was easily going to be in their favor.
Yeah, it looks like round 2 here. Actually, everybody on Dig is up, but Nexus turrets are even weaker than inhibitor ones when there's only a single one standing here. TSM can look to finish.
Oh, the flash! One more coming in. Bjergsen going crazy on the end. No, the wild growth on a slicing and dicing Dyrus. And it looks like they get a few more kills off of that one. Crumbzz and Cruzer running for the fountain for a little bit of solace, but it's not going to be enough as the Nexus goes down. Oh, Crumbzz is still actually out there. Turtle's going to be able to take him down. The Nexus at half health and just under 24 minutes. Here our first game of day 2 going to Team Solomid.
And the teams at the top of the standings in North America have been really showing that they deserve to be at the top of the standings. So far this weekend, everybody who's expected to win the games coming in have done so.
No game is taken lightly. Very strong coordination off of the 2v1 split. They got TheOddOne to the bottom. after losing his blue buff right away, it didn't really affect him because he didn't have to go to lanes and gank. So it almost played into the hands of Team Solomid that he was able to sit in lane and soak up the experience he would have lost from camps. And himself back in action, like riding a bike. Didn't even need the training wheels.
Man, he had 12 kills ending that game. So Bjergsen is on track for that record. That was over the average that he needed to get per game going forward for the rest of the season. So Bjergsen is looking to take Mandori Cloud's all-time kill record, having even missed 6 of the normal season games.
That's kind of crazy that it's that consistent. And when you look at TSM's KDA, it's crazy as well. You put it up to another team and you'd be like, yeah, top lane, 2 KDA. It sounds pretty normal. The top laner dives in. He dies sometimes. And then you look at Dyrus and it's like 6.50. And you're like, wait a minute. And then you look down to TheOddOne. It's like 5.7. Another jungler is 1.7. And you're like, the whole team gives each other kills. They're all working together.
And as we said, they weren't messing around either. They weren't like drawing out the game to try and get more super fed and like get all these items. 20 minutes, they're heading in for the inhibitor turrets.
In the